Next, we can further proceed. Optional parameter function. That is also most important. That is optional parameter function. In Angular framework, internally the framework use optional parameter function. So how it is work? Because I have to use that framework structure and inbuilt functionality. So for that, we have to know at least how optional parameter function is working. Okay. So optional parameter function. Optional is a concept basically that we apply on a function. So it is called optional parameter function. When that optional concept we can apply on property. Further, we learn the what exactly meaning of property. We can apply that optional functionality on property as well. So optional is a concept. So right now your optional parameter function apply on a function. So it is called optional parameter function. The name suggests optional parameter. That parameter we can make it optional. How we can make it that optional? Can create a function, and we create here add one. Okay, open close bracket. I can pass that parameter, for example, equivalent number, comma b colon number. Okay, I don't want to return that function, so I'm not mentioning any return type. If you're not mentioning any return type, by default it is a void. Your default return is a void. I just write here logic sum console.log and use value of a is, or whatever the value of a is, I just print out here. Again, I can use a value b and we'll give the result or addition of a plus b. Just we can display here addition a plus b. Okay, we can write a simple function. If that function make it optional parameter, so Typescript recommends if you want to create any optional parameter, you can create a last parameter as optional. It is a recommendation. Okay, your last parameter is a optional. How we can make that parameter as optional? Use a question mark. That question mark indicates your parameter is a optional. Means when that function you call, for example, I call that add one function. The time of calling, that beep argument is optional. If you see the documentation, a is a compulsion argument. Compulsion argument in it is a mandatory argument, whereas b is an optional argument, and by default it's use or and undefined. Means b is store a number value as well as undefined value. B cannot store a string value, boolean value, or any value. It can store number or undefined. And optional means you cannot make it means if does not pass any parameter while calling that add one function. So it will not give any error because you make that parameter is a optional. But a argument you have to pass, it is a mandatory. So add one and use a 4. I'm never pass any second parameter argument because b is a optional. So what will the output in that case? What will the output? Okay, tell me. What is the output of a?
4 undefined 4.
Very good. 4 undefined, and output here, output will be
4.
no, okay. Not a 4. It is called NaN. NaN is meaning that not
a number.
Number. Very good. Because 4 is a number, but undefined is not a number. So it does not understand 4 plus undefined what exactly. So it is not a number. Again, one more, if you have noticed that here, if you are using a plus b, here we see here the red line. Red line indicates something is error. Okay, a plus b. Why it is giving a red line? Because you are b make it as optional. Okay, so optional you have to write here not operator, not a null. Okay, because it has some value, either number or either undefined. B does not take any other values, not null value. So you have to make it here exclamatory mark, that is a not operator, that is a updates in Typescript. Okay, so if you are using not, it will use it not showing any error. If what is the output? First we check that output of that function, then I can move further. Means there is some rule. First check out the output. Value of a is 4, value of b is undefined, and addition of a plus b is n. Okay, if I can pass the value, in that case what will be happen? For example 6. So what will be output? A output will be 4, correct? B output here, B, what will be the output of B? 6, and total addition 4 plus 6 is 10. Okay, cross check it, compile and run. The value of A is 4, value of B is 6, A plus B is 10. Okay, one more rule is there. I just want to copy that method. It is used for your reference. So I'm keep it as it is and make it a new function with the function name as a add to. Okay. If I want to use A as an optional, okay, if I can make A is optional, so the Typescript has a rules. If you make it A is optional, after the parameter, after the A parameter, every parameter should be optional. Means B parameter should be make it as a optional. After the B parameter, you can create a new other parameter. That parameter should be optional. It is a rule. Means if you are creating any parameter optional, after that you are using one or two parameters, that both the parameters is also as a optional. Otherwise, it gives a error. Okay, so for example, add 2, and we can send the 2 parameters. If you're not sending any parameter, then it will give the undefined and defined and not a number. Just we check that things as well. So what will the output? The output will be undefined, undefined, and NaN. A is undefined, B is undefined, and A plus B is NaN. Okay. If you pass the value explicitly, for example, if you want to pass any parameter, you can pass it. For example, I pass 9, 2. Okay. So what will the output in this case? Value of A is 9, value of B is 2, and output is 11. Okay. Cross check it, compile and run. So 9, 2, and 11. So in that format, optional parameter function is work. Clear, everybody?
Yes,
Is there any questions in that regarding? You can ask it. Otherwise, we can proceed further. Okay, can I move further?
yes, Sumit.
Yes, Sumit.
Okay, fine. So default parameter function. Default parameter, the name implies that default parameter has set a default value. Okay. So first, again, same functionality I'm using. Create the same function. So instead of writing, I just copy paste and make it as add 3. Okay. The rest of the logic is the same. So if parameter you want to default, you can make it parameter as a default. Once you use a default parameter function, internally it acts as optional parameter function. If you make it any value as a default, it acts as a optional parameter function. Means if you want to make it b parameter as a default value is 9. So you can make it as equal to, means you can assign that 9 as a default value to that b parameter. While calling that function, if you're not passing any b value or b parameter argument, in that scenario, it takes a default value. Whatever the default value here assigned, that value will be taken and gives the output. If you are passed that value explicitly, then it not taken a default value. Whatever the you passing the value, it will be take it and perform the operation. Internally, it is a optional parameter function. And again, Typescript recommends only use a last parameter as a default parameter. It is a recommendation. Then add 3. If you see the documents, A is a mandatory parameter argument, sorry, and B is a optional argument. But I never use a question mark for the B argument. So default parameter internally were as converted into the optional parameter. So when we call that function pass the parameter only 5, okay, I never pass the B value. In that scenario, it takes a default value as a 9 and output will be 9 plus 5, 40. Okay. We'll be cross-check the things, compile and run. The value of A is 5, value of B is 9, and addition of A plus B is 14. Okay. If I pass that value, for example, add 3, and I just explicitly mention the A and B parameter, both 10, 3. Then in that case, A becomes takes a 10 value, A is assigned the 10, B is assigned 3. It not take a default value in that case because we are explicitly sending a value, okay, passing the value. So 10 plus 3 output will be 13. Compile and run, and the output will be 10 plus 3, 13. Clear? Got these things, everybody?
Yes, Sumit.
If that parameter make it as a first parameter as a default parameter, then what will happen? Just see, check it. If I want my functionality like that key, I want to make it a parameter as a default. Okay? It is not a recommendation, but I want to make it as a default value. So you can, there is no any, but there is no use of a parameter as a default, because if you are making a as a default value and b is a compulsion argument, compulsion any mandatory argument, then while calling of that add 4 function, you have to pass first a value. Now look out that documentation. Here you can see that there is no any question mark. Okay, means a value you have to mention it. After that, b value you have to pass it, because b value is a mandatory. Whatever the a is a optional, means a is a set a default value, but B is a mandatory argument. So if you want to pass a value for B, first you have to pass the A value. Then and then we can send or assign a B value. So if your A parameter make it as a default, there is no any use for default parameter as a first parameter. Okay. And I send A parameter is 6 and B parameter is sending 5. Okay. In that case, it is working. A is a 6, B is a 5. We cannot pass value B. It is violate your basic function rule, because basic function rule what exactly tells, if you want to pass a value for the B, first you have to pass to value A, then you can pass a value B. So there is no use for the default parameter you can use first. Okay, first cross check these things, compile and run. Okay, Srinivasan just hit one questions. What I want to default value which should not able to change anymore. Because we cannot change that value. Means you have to make the default parameter. You can make it as a last parameter. There is no option. Okay, Srinivasan, you get your question answer. Okay. Because first parameter, if you are making a default, it is no any use. I told here, because if you want to pass the B as a parameter argument value, you have to make sure pass first A parameter and then B. So Typescript is recommended. You make it as a your parameter as a last parameter as a default. Still, if you want to use, I want to make A is a default and also B make it as optional. So you can use in that scenario as well. How we can use that? See there. See the case. Add 4. If A is a default, I want to make it A is as a default parameter, and B make it as a optional. You can B make it as optional. In that case, what will be happen? If A and B both are optional parameter, internally both are acts as a optional parameter. Just check in the documentation. Okay. So see, A is optional, B is optional. Means if you're not passing any value, it will not give any error. If you're not passing any value, A will be default value 7. And in that case, B is a optional. In that case, B takes a undefined value. So output will be 7 plus undefined, not a number. Okay. Check out that as well. The value is 7, B is undefined, and addition of A plus B is NaN. Okay. Clear this?